Our next story is on President Biden. I have big issues with him, and in this it says Biden's three big problems with the left in one town hall. So we're going to see what his big problems are, and then we're going to counteract his problems with what actually needs to be done because Biden is weak. Biden needs to step up and he needs to fight for us. So it goes in to say President Joe Biden has a growing problem, and it isn't coming from the opposite side of the aisle. After a year's worth of Republican attack ads framing him as a socialist might tell you in recent months, 6 months into his presidency, Biden is facing increased criticism from the left wing of his own party on a host of issues, including gun violence, climate change, student debt, voting rights, and more. For what it's worth, the administration has taken action on nearly all of the aforementioned issues, but the blowback he's received for not doing more sooner indicates the tenuous hold he maintains over the far left wing of the party. The following three moments from his CNN-sponsored Wednesday Night Hall in Cincinnati, Ohio, illustrate that divide. So we're going to go over these three things, but I'm also going to say there's a lot more. When it talks about gun violence, climate change, student debt, voting rights, healthcare. These are things that Biden has not officially stepped up on. He could be signing executive orders. He could be making changes. He could be holding people over the fire. He could be making the moderates of our party more lean towards us. He could go in there guns ablazing. He could say, "You do this, or I will put everything in my power to make sure you get primaried. Do everything in my power. Go to Joe Manchin, looking dead in his face. I will do everything. Me and the entire Democratic wing will do everything to make sure that you are run out of town." But no, Biden will not do that. He could do the same thing with the Republicans as well, but he won't do that because he's a weak bipartisan fool. So for his first one is eliminating the filibuster. Even before entering his current office, Biden staunchly cautioned the Senate against eliminating the legislative filibuster. His refusal so far to budge from that position, even as a means of passing voting rights legislation, has irked liberal activists and more than a handful of Democratic lawmakers. The sentiment played out when an incoming law student, host of Don Lemon, repeatedly pressed Biden on his insistence that Congress protect our relic of Jim Crow. It is, Biden eventually responded when Lemon alluded to former President Barack Obama's critique of the legislative tool. So he said it is a relic of Jim Crow. He admits that. There's no reason to protect it other than you're going to throw the entire Congress into chaos and nothing will get done. Nothing at all will get done. And there's a lot at stake. The most important one is the right to vote. And that's the single important one. Um, ju- uh, the president claimed that eliminating the filibuster just to pass the For the People Act isn't necessary because you can't stop the public from voting. Yes, you can. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing is they're stopping the public from voting. They're making it so there's less turnout. It's harder to vote. Even in my own state. Why is there not same day registration to vote? Why does it have to be a month and a half in advance? My girlfriend can't vote because she's never really been into politics. But I tried to start introducing her to stuff and showing her what the issues are. I let her make her own decisions and let her but she is definitely progressive leaning and she can't vote. She's never wanted to until now, but she can't vote in the special election because it's not soon enough. It's next month. You should have voted. You should have voted last month. Or should have registered to vote last month. Yes, you're stopping the public from voting, and you're stalling them from voting. And now the filibuster. Now, what is the problem with the filibuster? The filibuster, in essence, if someone says if they start the filibuster, it basically means that the thing they're filibustering for or against cannot be voted on without a 2/3 majority, without a 60% majority. So, in essence, it makes it harder to vote. It slows up the process. I don't understand where he's coming from when it says Congress will get nothing done. Because if you make the vote, and if you eliminate the filibuster and make it a simple majority, 51, that is more democratic. Instead of 60% and people holding it up, we could have a 51%. Now, you could say, oh, because your party's in office, the Democrats, you want to get rid of the filibuster now, but then bring back the filibuster later. No, I think that 51% majority is the right way to go always. Not that the Democrats even they should have used the filibuster more, but they're not actually for the people. Why you can see Biden wasn't even doing for the people act. You can see exactly where he's going. The next is defunding the police. During an exchange on gun violence, the president accused Republicans of lying when they say that some members of the Democratic Party want to defund the police. No, I've never said defunding the police. I don't know any community, particularly the communities that are in the most need and the poorest and the most at risk, that don't want police. They want police, though, to look at them as equals. The president has not explicitly called for eliminating police budgets, but has suggested state and local governments redirect some police funding. However, both his past comments and those made Wednesday night are out of step with those made by a number of other Democratic lawmakers. Defunding police means defunding police, AOC said. In a statement, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said in a statement following the police killing of George Floyd, it does not mean budget tricks or funny math. It does not mean moving school police officers from the NYPD budget to the Department of Education's budget so the exact same police remain in school. You can't really reform a department that is rooted to the root. No one is saying crimes will not be investigated. What we are saying is the current infrastructure that exists as policing in our city should not exist anymore, and we can't go about creating a different process with the same infrastructure in place. A system this cruel and inhumane can't be reformed. Defund the police, defund the system that's terrorizing our communities. So let's talk about let's talk about how much the police make. So there's state police, there's city police, there's the sheriff's office for the county. So there's like 3 different boards right there. They all get paid. Now, in a study from a couple of years ago, in spending, it costs about $200,000 in tax dollars per police officer in every major city. So $200,000. There is about 1 million. In that study, they said there's about 1 million police officers that were employed. So how much is that? Let's do quick math. $200 billion in police funding. $200 billion. Now again, this is the same country where we struggle to have talks about eliminating school debt, about Medicare for all, about getting a Green New Deal, about getting a new infrastructure program based on green technology, and about feeding the poor, about housing the homeless. We have arguments about this, but we have a president who thinks that $200 billion a year in police funding is perfectly okay. You have to defund them. You have to burn it to the ground. You have to start from scratch because systematically it is broken. That is the problem. It is broken on a systematic level, and it needs to be started over. And the final issue, unifier in chief. Outside of stopping the coronavirus pandemic and enacting meaningful gun reform, Biden's number one stated goal as president is to restore bipartisanship in Washington. The president frequently discusses how, given his 4 decades spent in the Senate, he knows how to work with Republicans, and he raised the topic multiple times throughout Wednesday's program. Biden defended his stance on voting rights and the filibuster by telling the audience that he wants to make sure we bring along not just all the Democrats, we bring along Republicans who I know better. They know better than this. I don't believe, I'm already starting to get heated. I don't believe that passing voting rights legislation can't be accomplished without eliminating the filibuster. I think we can get it done. You had 20 Republicans sign a letter saying we think we need this deal. He explained, I take my Republican colleagues at their word when you shake. I come from a tradition in the Senate. You shake your hand, that's it. You keep your word. What is this man? Who is this man? What is going on? Who is this man? Oh my gosh. Stop. Stop the presses. Stop the presses. Our president is a moron. Oh my God. You can't talk to these people, Joe. So look, I'm at an impasse where honestly, I think that Joe Biden is just a moderate Republican who got voted on the Democratic side of things. That's truly what I believe, especially because he's been there for so long. Joe Biden argued for segregation. Like, let's be honest. Joe Biden has been in the Senate a long time. A long time. Too long. He's been in politics too long. And I don't know what he thinks that the Republican Party is, but ever since the Tea Party movement, and especially since Donald Trump, there is no they know better than this. And I'm not saying that Republican voters don't know better. I would never say that, because Republican voters have their own opinions, they have their own minds. But the Republicans in Washington, the Republican caucus, the Republican wing in Washington, they're not going to play ball with you. They're not. You could give them everything they want and they're still going to want more. Because that's what they do. And you want to placate them. That's the only thing I feel. I feel like you just want to placate them. You should be running roughshod. Yeah, that's why I just wanted Bernie so bad. I know Bernie would have been running roughshod. He would have went in Washington, he would have made things happen. And he wouldn't have been playing these bipartisan games. Because there is no such thing as bipartisanship in Washington anymore. So I really believe he's lying to the American public, and he's scapegoating again, because that's what he does. He scapegoats and obfuscates to another party. That's what Joe Biden is good at. So I really believe that's what he's doing. But part of me is also like, dude, this guy's just also a complete idiot. Shake your hand, keep your word. You're in Washington, bub. I'm from a corn state. I come from Ohio, and I know that ain't how it works. So the fact that he wants to just be friendly with everybody and not, it says it all about where he stands policy wise. Where he stands, really. He doesn't stand with the American people. He stands with the corporation. He stands with the establishment of both parties. I hate Joe Biden.